The 72-hour prediction. The Nexari war chamber pulsed with blue-green light, illuminating the scales and ridges of the 12 Supreme Commanders gathered around the holographic display of Earth. Supreme Commander Draxful, his obsidian exoskeleton gleaming under the projection lights, leaned forward with predatory anticipation. 72 hours, he announced, mandibles clicking with finality. 72 hours until the human civilization collapses. None of the assembled commanders questioned the assessment. The Nexari Dominion had conquered 37 spacefaring species across 3 galactic arms. They had reduced the mighty Cantorian Empire to ash in under a week. The Altarian Republic, once spanning 200 star systems, had surrendered after just 3 days of conflict. Humans would be no different. Their orbital defenses are primitive, General Kraz-Tur observed, his 4 arms gesturing at the holographic representation of Earth's meager defensive satellites. Their fleet consists of fewer than 500 vessels, most barely capable of interplanetary travel. They've only colonized a few bodies in their home system, another commander noted. Mars, a few moons of Jupiter and Saturn. No significant presence beyond Pluto. Draxful's inner eyelids flickered in what passed for amusement among the Nexari. Their weapons technology is particularly laughable. Chemical propellants, crude nuclear fission, the beginnings of fusion tech, but nothing that could challenge our quantum phase shields. The invasion plan was straightforward. The Nexari would deploy their 20,000 ship armada in 3 waves. The first wave would neutralize Earth's orbital defenses and eliminate their space fleet. The second would establish orbital dominance and launch precision strikes against military and governmental targets. The third would manage the ground invasion and establish control centers for the efficient harvesting of resources. Is there any reason to believe they might surrender before we complete all phases? Asked General Trisnar, almost sounding disappointed. Unknown, replied Draxful. Human historical records suggest a peculiar tendency toward defiance even in hopeless situations. They might require persuasion. A ripple of anticipation passed through the chamber. The Nexari had perfected the art of persuasion over 3,000 years of conquest. Begin the operation, Draxful commanded. Let history record that the human chapter was brief. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching Earth grow smaller in the view screen. At 52, she'd spent 30 years in the United Earth Space Force, rising through the ranks during humanity's tumultuous expansion through the solar system. Gray streaked her black hair, and her face bore the lines of someone who had made difficult decisions. Admiral, her XO, Commander Jackson, approached with a datapad. The Nexari fleet has been detected crossing the Kuiper Belt. Initial count confirms approximately 20,000 vessels. Chen nodded calmly. Right on schedule. Status of Operation Looking Glass. All systems green. The quantum mirrors are in position and calibrated. Ghost Fleet is standing by. Guardian is fully operational and has distributed control across all nodes. And the Nexari still don't suspect. Jackson shook his head. As far as our intelligence can determine, they believe we have no knowledge of their approach. Their communication encryption remains compromised. They are still discussing a 72-hour victory scenario. A thin smile crossed Chen's face. 72 hours. That's actually rather generous of them. Admiral, most species don't last 12 hours against the Nexari. They've been conquering worlds for millennia. They're very good at it. Not good enough, Jackson said with quiet confidence. No, Chen agreed. Not good enough. Not this time. She turned to her communications officer. Broadcast to all Earth forces. Operation Checkmate is a go. Supreme Commander Draxful watched with satisfaction as the first wave of 5,000 Nexari warships emerged from fold space near the orbit of Mars. The human detection systems would be registering their presence now. Panic would be spreading through their command structures. Their primitive weapons would be brought online, for all the good it would do them. First wave successfully deployed, his tactical officer reported. No resistance detected. Human communications show increased activity, but no coordinated response. As expected, Draxful said, "Begin targeting sequence for their orbital platforms and military bases. Targeting systems engaged. Supreme Commander. Firing solutions in 3, 2. The tactical officer fell silent, staring at his console with confusion. "Report," Draxful demanded. "Supreme Commander, I'm detecting anomalies. Our sensors show thousands of new contacts suddenly appearing throughout the system." "Impossible," Draxful snapped. "Their fleet consists of fewer than 500 vessels. These are not appearing from Fold space, Commander. They're just appearing. As if they were always there, but somehow masked from our sensors." The holographic display updated, and Draxful felt his inner heart stutter. Where moments ago the space around Earth had shown only a scattering of defensive platforms and a small collection of military vessels, now thousands of warships had appeared, surrounding the Nexari first wave. "A trick," he hissed. "Some sort of sensor ghost or projection." "Negative, Supreme Commander. These are physical vessels, and they're targeting our ships." Before Draxful could respond, the first reports of destruction came in. Nexari dreadnoughts, the pride of the Dominion fleet, were exploding, not one by one, but dozens at a time. Weapons fire that seemed to bypass their shields entirely was tearing through their hulls. "What is happening?" Draxful demanded, his composure cracking. "What weapons are they using?" "Unknown, Supreme Commander. The energy signatures don't match any known technology. These aren't conventional weapons. It's as if space itself is being weaponized against our ships." Draxful stared in disbelief as the tactical display showed more and more of his first wave blinking out of existence. Launched the second wave. Now, the second wave of Nexari ships emerged from Fold space, only to find themselves similarly surrounded by human vessels that seemed to materialize from nothing. "Sir," the communications officer interrupted, voice trembling. "We're receiving a transmission from the humans." "Put it through," Draxful ordered, mandibles clicking in agitation. The holographic display shifted to show a human female, her dark hair streaked with gray, wearing a blue uniform adorned with insignia of rank. "This is Admiral Chen of the United Earth Space Force," she said, her voice calm and measured. "You should be aware that your invasion has failed. Your first and second waves are already being neutralized. Your communications are compromised. We've been listening to your plans for months. Your 72-hour prediction was optimistic. This is impossible." Draxful snarled. "What trickery is this?" "No trickery, Commander Draxful. Just a fundamental misunderstanding on your part. You believe you were dealing with a primitive species because that's what we wanted you to believe. You saw what we wanted you to see. You cannot defeat the Nexari Dominion. We have conquered 37 worlds." Admiral Chen smiled thinly. "Yes, we know all about your conquests. We've been studying you for years, ever since you destroyed the Cantorian outpost at Proxima Centauri. We knew you'd eventually come for Earth. We've been preparing." On the tactical display, Draxful watched in horror as the count of destroyed Nexari vessels continued to climb. Over 2,000 ships lost in minutes. 3,000. 4,000. "Your quantum phase shields are impressive technology," Chen continued. "But they're based on a flawed understanding of 11-dimensional space. Our quantum mirror technology doesn't try to penetrate your shields. It simply creates a localized fold in space-time that places our weapons inside your ships before they're fired." Draxful's tactical officer turned to him, mandibles drooping in shock. "Supreme Commander, we've lost the entire first wave. Second wave losses at 70% and climbing." Chen's expression remained neutral. "You have a choice, Commander. Withdraw your remaining forces immediately, or we will be forced to eliminate them as well. You have 5 minutes to decide." The transmission ended, leaving the war chamber in shocked silence. Launched the third wave. Drax Vol ordered, his voice a dangerous hiss. All ships, maximum dispersion pattern. Target their planet directly. If we cannot conquer them, we will make them suffer. The tactical officer hesitated. Supreme Commander, given their demonstrated capabilities. Do it, Drax Vol roared. The Nexari Dominion does not retreat. We do not surrender. Launch everything we have. The third wave of 10,000 ships emerged from fold space, spreading out across the solar system in an attempt to avoid the fate of the earlier waves. For a moment, it seemed the strategy might work. The human ships couldn't possibly surround such a dispersed formation. Then something new appeared on the tactical display. Not ships this time, but strange energy signatures emanating from points throughout the solar system. From the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, from the surface of Mars, from asteroids and seemingly empty space. What are those? Drax Vol demanded. Some sort of automated weapons platforms, the tactical officer replied, voice hollow. Thousands of them. They were hidden, waiting. The energy signatures flared, and space itself seemed to ripple around the Nexari ships. Vessels began to vanish from the tactical display, not exploding but simply ceasing to exist. They're using controlled singularities, the science officer whispered in horror. Weaponized gravity wells. They're erasing our ships from existence. Drax Vol watched, paralyzed, as his mighty Armada, the undefeated fleet of the Nexari Dominion, was systematically erased. Not in 72 hours, not even in 72 minutes. In just under 27 minutes from first contact, the Nexari invasion force had been reduced to Drax Vol's command ship and a handful of scattered vessels. The human, Admiral Chen, appeared on the screen again. Your 72-hour prediction was off by quite a margin, Commander, she said quietly. The remaining Nexari vessels have been spared as a courtesy. You will return to your territory and deliver a message to the Nexari Dominion. Earth is off limits. Any future aggression against humanity or our allies will result in consequences far beyond what you witnessed today. Drax Vol could only stare in stunned silence as the transmission ended. His tactical officer approached cautiously. Supreme Commander, your orders. Drax Vol's mandibles clicked softly as he responded. Set course for Nexari Prime. Maximum speed. And the invasion. There is no invasion, Drax Vol said, his voice hollow. There is only retreat. In the darkness of space, the remaining Nexari ships limped away from Earth, leaving behind the debris of their shattered invasion and the death of their reputation as the galaxy's unstoppable conquerors. They had predicted 72 hours to victory. The humans had needed 27 minutes to defeat them. Part 2. Extinction Protocol. Supreme Commander Drax Vol's command ship trembled as another quantum mirror strike materialized inside the engine compartment. Emergency klaxons blared, and the bridge lighting flickered to the dull red of critical systems failure. Fold space engines offline, reported his engineering officer, mandibles clicking frantically. Hull integrity at 37%. Weapons systems non-responsive. Drax Vol gripped the arms of his command chair, feeling the unfamiliar sensation of fear crawl through his neural pathways. In 3,000 years of conquest, the Nexari had never faced defeat. Certainly not on this scale, not this quickly, not this decisively. Status of the fleet, he demanded, though he already knew the answer. 16,732 vessels confirmed destroyed. His tactical officer replied, voice hollow. 3,189 unaccounted for, presumed destroyed. Remaining functional Nexari vessels number fewer than 100, Supreme Commander. An invasion force of 20,000 ships, the pride of the Dominion, the most powerful armada ever assembled, reduced to ruins in under an hour. The human vessels are approaching, Supreme Commander, the tactical officer continued. They're not even in combat formation. They appear to be in standard patrol configuration. Drax Vol's inner eyelids flickered rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation among his species. The humans weren't even treating this as a battle anymore. They were conducting a cleanup operation. "Open a channel to their command vessel," he ordered, swallowing his pride. "I will speak with this Admiral Chen again." The view screen flickered to life, showing the human admiral's face. She appeared calm, almost serene, as if the total destruction of the greatest military force in the galaxy was nothing more than a minor inconvenience in her day. "Supreme Commander," she acknowledged with a slight nod. "Have you reconsidered our terms?" "How?" Drax Vol demanded, abandoning protocol. "How is this possible? Your species has barely achieved interplanetary travel. Your technology is primitive. You have no unified government. You spend more time fighting each other than advancing yourselves. How could you possibly develop weapons capable of this?" Admiral Chen's expression remained neutral. "Your intelligence was flawed, Commander. Intentionally so. We've known about the wider galactic community for over 70 years, ever since we intercepted communications from a Nexari scout ship observing our system. We've been watching you, learning, preparing. No species develops quantum mirror technology independently," Drax Vol insisted. "It took the Nexari Dominion 800 years to perfect it." "We didn't develop it independently," Chen replied simply. "We improved upon existing designs." "Stolen technology?" Drax Vol hissed. "You're thieves." For the first time, Chen's expression changed, a slight smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Consider it. Salvage rights. The Cantorian outpost at Proxima Centauri had quite extensive technical databases. Before your forces destroyed it, of course." Drax Vol's inner hearts clenched. The Cantorian outpost had been eliminated 15 years ago, a minor operation, barely worth mentioning in the grand history of Nexari conquests. Just another potential threat removed before it could develop into anything significant. Or so they had thought. "But the weapons platforms," he persisted. "The ships that appeared from nowhere, the singularity projectors, those aren't Cantorian technologies." "No," Chen agreed. "Those are human innovations. Necessity breeds invention, Commander. When you know a superior force is coming to destroy your world, you get creative." A new alarm sounded on the bridge. Drax Vol turned to his tactical officer, who was staring at his console in horror. "Supreme Commander, we're detecting energy signatures matching the human quantum weapons activating throughout the system. They're targeting every remaining Nexari vessel simultaneously." Drax Vol turned back to the view screen. "What is this?" "We were discussing terms." Chen shook her head slightly. "No, Commander. I offered terms. You demanded explanations. There's a difference. You would destroy us all, even as we attempt to communicate. That depends entirely on your next words, Commander. Humanity has reviewed the history of Nexari conquests. You don't leave survivors. You don't honor surrenders. You annihilate resistance and strip conquered worlds of resources until they're uninhabitable. We have no reason to believe you would treat Earth any differently if given another opportunity." Drax Vol's mandibles clicked rapidly as he processed this ultimatum. "What do you want?" "Full and immediate withdrawal of all Nexari forces from the Sol system. A formal acknowledgement of Earth's sovereign territory, including all current and future human settlements within and beyond the solar system. A non-aggression pact between the Nexari Dominion and humanity, to be enforced by the technology you've witnessed today. And if we refuse?" Chen's expression didn't change. "Then what's left of your fleet will be destroyed, and we will activate the Quantum Beacon Network." "Quantum Beacon Network?" Drax Vol repeated, unfamiliar with the term. "Devices we've placed within Nexari territory," Chen explained calmly. 37 of them, to be precise. One for each world you've conquered. If activated, they'll serve as destination points for our quantum mirror weapons. We can deliver singularity warheads directly to the surface of every Nexari-controlled planet simultaneously. Impossible, Drax Vol thought. No species could project power across such distances. It was a bluff. It had to be. As if reading his thoughts, Chen continued. 2 months ago, a series of unexplained explosions destroyed military installations on 3 of your outer colony worlds. Your investigators found no cause, no evidence of attack. The explosions seemed to come from nowhere. Draxvol felt his exoskeleton grow cold. The incidents had been reported, mysterious destructions that the finest Nexari minds couldn't explain. The High Command had classified the information to prevent panic. That was a demonstration, Chen said softly. A test of our targeting capabilities. The beacons have been in place for years, Commander. We can reach any world in your domain. Extinction, Draxvol whispered. You're threatening the extinction of our species. No, Commander. We're preventing the extinction of ours. Chen leaned forward slightly. Your decision, please. The quantum weapons remain armed. On the tactical display, Draxvol could see the remaining Nexari vessels, surrounded by human ships and weapons platforms. There was no path to victory. No chance of reinforcement. Not even a possibility of a dignified last stand. For the first time, in 3,000 years of Nexari history, a Supreme Commander spoke the words, "We surrender. We accept your terms." Chen nodded once. Wise decision. You will be provided coordinates for a safe departure vector. Any deviation will be considered a hostile action. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence, broken only by the continuing alarms. Set course as directed, Draxvol ordered, his voice hollow. Inform the remaining vessels to follow. Supreme Commander, his second-in-command ventured cautiously. What will we tell the High Command? Draxvol stared at the viewscreen, where Earth was now visible, a blue-green jewel against the blackness of space, seemingly innocent, deceptively fragile. The truth, he said finally, that we encountered a species more dangerous than any we have faced before. A species that doesn't simply fight. They prepare. They don't just resist. They annihilate. And they don't seek conquest. They ensure survival at any cost. As the crippled Nexari command ship limped away from Earth, Draxvol watched the tactical display showing the human vessels resuming their patrol patterns. They were already returning to their normal operations, as if the destruction of the mightiest fleet in the galaxy had been nothing more than a minor interruption. In the command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Chen watched the Nexari ships disappear into fold space. Around her, the staff of Earth Defense Command continued their work with quiet efficiency. Message from Guardian. Admiral, her communications officer reported. Quantum Beacon Network confirms Nexari withdrawal. All remaining vessels have left the system. Chen nodded. Maintain alert status for the next 72 hours. I want continuous monitoring of the fold space apertures. If they even think about returning, I want to know immediately. Yes, Admiral. Her XO, Commander Jackson, approached with a datapad. Casualty report, Admiral. 7 vessels lost. 29 damaged. Total personnel losses at 182 confirmed. 43 missing. Chen closed her eyes briefly. Even in victory, there was cost. Ensure the families are notified personally. Full honors for the fallen. Of course, Admiral. Jackson hesitated. Permission to speak freely. Granted. The Nexari won't be the last. Our victory today will be noticed throughout the galactic community. Some will be afraid. Others will be curious. Many will want our technology. Chen nodded slowly. And some will want to test whether today was skill or luck. The Quantum Beacon Network can't cover the entire galaxy. No, Chen agreed. But it doesn't need to. What happened today will send a message. Humanity is not to be trifled with. She turned to look at the main display, where Earth rotated peacefully, unaware of how close it had come to destruction, and unaware of the destruction it had dealt in return. They predicted 72 hours to conquer us, she said quietly. They never expected that we would be the ones counting down to their defeat. In the vastness of space, the message was already spreading through subspace communications and quantum entanglement networks. A new power had emerged, a species that had defeated the undefeatable, a civilization that had turned the hunters into the hunted. Humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy not with diplomacy or cultural exchange, but with a definitive statement of power. Threaten us at your own peril. The Nexari had predicted wrong, and they would not be the last to make that mistake.